That's my fucking hell. The tattler poised in trepidation, waiting for the phone to ring. His Majesty takes a bow. The doctor is in. Boy, has it been one of those shifts? I've just had to work through my lunch and now I'm wearing the king like a wedding ring. Oh, how Diana would have blushed. Get that fucking glove on eBay and pass the bastard hand soap. Stat. Amputate me to the elbow and tell Matt Hancock, smell that. Oh well, the tests are back, Your Majesty, and I don't wish to be the bearer of bad news, but believe it or not, this isn't the worst thing I've had to do this afternoon, but it would appear that you are incredibly poorly, and I would advise that you get your affairs straight and quick. But at least you didn't have to stick your own finger up your ass, because yours looks thicker than donkeys' dicks. Cheers. I'm expecting Simon Armitage to hand over the baton of Poet Laureate any day now. A lot of people do trigger warnings before they do poems these days, which I think is a nice enough gesture. I don't bother with trigger warnings because I'd be here all fucking night, but I'm going to do a trigger warning for this because I'm going to read you some stuff that's not my poetry. This is a book of erotic literature, second-hand, published in the 1970s. You can tell it's from the 70s from that massive growler on the back cover. Get a load of that. And if you ever come across a second-hand book of erotic poetry, I've got a pretty surefire way of knowing whether it's worth picking up, and that is if the book falls open onto the same page every fucking time, I can kind of guarantee whatever's there is going to be fucking class. Now, I'm not just reading out a poem by some bloke who's died so we can all have a snide little laugh. Like, this is this is some of the best shit I've ever read in my life. And it's not like tacky 1970s Confessions of a Window Cleaner softcore porn poetry. This is classic 16th century Renaissance period poetry. Like, this is as highbrow as it fucking gets. It's written by a bloke called Perito Aretino. He was one of the most respected poets of the Renaissance period, apparently, although it seems he's more famous for trying to blackmail the Pope. So, you know, respect. He was flamboyantly bisexual, and he died laughing, which is a nice detail. And these are a load of short poems by him. Each one's written as a question to the church regarding sex and what's acceptable in the eyes of the church. And then the second verse is a sort of response to that question. And I'm going to start off with this one because this is relatively nice compared to what's coming up. And this is a poem about a couple who are having sex and suddenly halfway through they stop in a panic because they're worried that the woman might become pregnant. Not for any kind of responsibility, parental concerns, but because they're worried that she might spawn the Antichrist, which I can believe was probably a genuine concern back in the 1600s. And so he bums her. Yeah, fucking listen to this. Brother Martin and Sister Charity one night suddenly thought, whilst full tilt up her belly, but what if we spawn the Antichrist? And so he pumped his jelly into her arsehole. Was he wrong, or was he right? It says there. It has just occurred to me that I was probably supposed to do the trigger warning before I read the poem. But, you know, better late than never. Trigger warning, there is a lot of bumming coming up, okay? There is bumming coming to your town with an immediate effect. So in the response to this, it's got one of the best lines in a poem I've ever read. Lay Brother Martin was a fine old stunt to come, but not let the Antichrist come as well. Lovely stuff. Now, I'm no literary historian, but I do think that may be the very first recorded utterance of the age-old phrase, up the bum, no babies. I really do that. And I don't know where this part of the routine's going, but I'm hoping one day I might be invited onto one of Lucy Worsley's BBC4 history programmes and we can sit in a big old library looking through this book wearing latex gloves and I'll say, so you see, Lucy, I think what he's saying here is, up the bum, no babies. That's fascinating. So yeah, with most of these poems, it seems that, like, providing there's a ridiculous excuse to go along with it, God's pretty much cool with everything, and that's very much the case in this poem. Hang on, I've lost it. There we go. This is a poem about a nun who goes to the toilet, but as she's sitting down on the toilet, she accidentally sits on the penis of a monk who just so happened to be sat on the... I mean, she didn't see him, you know. No one's at blame here. A nun called Joan goes to the lavatory, thinking it's free, but sits on Brother Dick, threading her quim exactly with his prick. Has she broken her vows of chastity? That's very similar to this one, in fact, which is again about a nun who this time falls out of a window, but it's okay because her fall is broken by the penis of an innocent monk who was just walking down the street at that particular moment. Down from the balcony fell Sister Margarita's flanks plump onto Brother Charles's straining tass, which saved her life but quite broke up her ass. So should the sister sue him or say thanks? Yeah. Right, and I'm going to leave you with this one. There's a lot of them, but I'll keep them short. But this is by far the fucking worst. And this is a story about a poor chap who is constipated to the point where he thinks he might actually die. And so in a desperate attempt to live, he gets a good friend. To bum him, yeah. In an effort to sort of dislodge the issue, I suppose. I mean, it's a big ask. Yeah. Mate, I need you to do me a favour, mate. Oh, fucking hell, you alright, man? Like, what's up? Can I do anything for you? Like, I'm all leg bound and I think if you don't bum me, I might die. Okay, yeah, I could do that, I suppose. Unable to shit and in despair, this chap, madly trying out anything to live, had himself buggered for a laxative. Is it sinful not to die for a crap? And basically, in the response, it says, providing that the bumming is a life-saving procedure, God's cool with it, fucking go ahead. Cheers.